Welcome to the Chasing the Puck show. It is Thursday, the 4th of July. It's Independence Day, it's Election Day, and it's first show day for us as well. Thank you very much. I'm your host, Stephen Turton, and I will be taking you through opening night with ourselves as we discuss the questions that you've sent in on social media through DMs and messages. Firstly, thank you very much for everyone who sent messages in. Do appreciate it. And obviously, as the coming weeks go on, hopefully we can get some more questions. Show will get a little bit longer. I'll get a little bit more comfortable. And then also we can obviously start looking at making the show live, which we'll be planning to do as the season ramps up and goes forward. So first couple of weeks is just going to be test and learn, really, just to see if I can work the systems and not break anything. So fingers crossed, this is the first episode and I don't break anything. Still early days yet, but we're doing okay. It's great. So what the show is going to be is we're going to be discussing panel pretty much for the first couple of weeks. We've got some interviews lined up. Thank you very much for the people that have agreed to say that they're going to come on. So I'm looking forward to the interviews we've got. Going to keep them quiet. So keep an eye on social media, exactly who's going to be appearing in the coming weeks. We're going to look forward to that. It's going to be a little bit exciting. It's going to be a little bit of fun. And we're going to be talking hockey. So without further ado, let's look at the first question that was in the mailbox that was sent through to us and see what we want to say about that one. Can see the Nottingham Panthers have a new logo. Originally, they were sponsored by the Nottingham Building Society last season. That partnership has ended. Now they are looking with their new look logo that they've decided. It's got Nottingham, it's got Panthers on it, it's got a home and away one, and it's a different design, after the years and years and years that they've had their logo that it is. We've still got a Panther on it. They're not changing the name or anything like that. It's just gone for a new look, new idea and a new identity. Now they've got Danny Stewart in under his stewardship. Recruitment started to take place in bits and pieces. So question that we got was, what's our thoughts of the new Nottingham Panthers logo? Honestly, is it going to change people's feelings towards the Panthers? No. It's a logo at the end of the day. It's a bit of identity. It's something that's going to be on the merchandise. People are going to still buy the jerseys. People are going to buy the pucks. They're going to buy bits and pieces that are related to the Panthers. They're going to try and get everything they want to do it. If Panthers obviously are looking for a new main sponsorship and they're going through the bits and pieces that they are now, it's something fresh. It's something new. The way that the team has been the last couple of years. Obviously last year we can obviously say that, that's something, that they had to go through, and it brings sadness, obviously, even now when you kind of think about it with everything they had to deal with. But performance-wise on the ice, people want Panthers to be at that top end of the table. And is a logo going to make a blind bit of difference where they finish in the league, the Challenge Cup or the playoffs? No. But it's a sign of things to come if Omar and Danny Stewart and everyone behind the scenes are starting to look at making an identity for the Panthers. Because that's the thing, really, that they need to have a look at is on the ice. They're getting this team in at this moment in time. They haven't got any netminders in. Just recently announced new signing, Tim Doherty, has just been announced while I've been recording this. So let's change up the recruitment because that's the next part of the question, which they've done. But it's a logo at the end of the day. Is anyone going to kick off about a logo? Devils, maybe we can remember that from the time that they changed their logo. But at this moment, social media has, no one's really said anything with relation to it. It's got Panthers on it. It's got Nottingham on it. And it's got a picture of a Panther on it. End of the day, it's not a earth-shattering announcement within a team. They're not, changing their team colours to orange. They're not doing anything silly or anything like that. They're just rebranding, and with new opportunities for merchandise and bits and pieces that they can sell within the hockey community, it's actually a really good idea that they've decided to bring forward and do something that way. Because if you do something like that, there's always going to be bits and pieces here and there. People, some people don't like change. it's not a big change at the end of the day. It's not going to be something that, in a couple of months' time, we're going to say that was the worst decision they ever made. It's not going to make a decision that they're going to be champions based on a logo. It's with what the next question is. How do I feel about the recruitment so far? I mean, if we're going to think of one person really that stands out as the signing for Panthers so far, that would be...
It hurts. The Panthers are 3-on-2 here because O'Connor can't get back. It's her. It's over. The Panthers will take the 2 points. The Steelers' comeback was enough to get them one. Her with the overtime goal. And the Steelers, who were caught short at the back. And Duba couldn't quite get his glove across. Second of the game for Sam Herr, and it is the game winner. And O'Connor has got to get...
Herr is back in Nottingham. If you want to talk about recruitment, that is the one that Tim Wallace has wanted. Gary Graham. Jonathan Paradise. What they said, were they an active person that they were looking for? Can't tell you what a coach's plans and bits and pieces is like, but a lot of people have wanted Sam Herr back in Nottingham. There's been obviously lit some pieces here, there saying, no, obviously Pete Russell used to coach him, so he's going to go to the Cardiff Devils. Will he be going to Steelers? Because, to be honest, if Herr went to Steelers, it would actually be the funniest thing on social media that we would see, and there would probably be a few meltdowns, but, I wouldn't want to advocate any meltdowns on social media. Of course I wouldn't. But, Sam Herr, marquee signing, you got to look at it that way. Points that he got that first season for Nottingham in 1920. Season got cut short. Captain, a lot of the times it was a captain's performance. You can go through the games. Obviously, that one is a highlight for a lot of Panthers fans with relation to the, the overtime winner, the celebration, and, the finger in the air, face of the plexi. Memories like that are absolutely perfect. But, you think about it, Sam is back. He has been at Tower Stars for the last couple of years as well. Good points as well, Innsbruck as well. German hockey, the last couple of years since he left Nottingham, he has had the captaincy. He has been the alternative captain as well. He gets the goals, he gets the assists. He is one of those players that, if you're going to build something, he's a person that you want to build it around. Forwards as well, you've got Ollie Betteridge, you've got Jordan Kelso, leaps and bounds. Every season that you watch Jordan Kelso play for the Panthers, he's getting stronger. He will put a fight in when he needs to. He will be rough and tumble as well, defensively and offensively. He has been thrown in. I think the only position he hasn't played is netminder. Don't know if there's plans to put him in there as a netminder, but he needs to play any position that Nottingham has asked him to play in. He has been absolutely brilliant. He's probably one of those players that, as a Brit, has done really, really well. He's obviously been part of that team for such a long time now and has that kind of Nottingham mentality that he wants to do and have play. Ollie Betteridge, came back after a couple of years. He's back. Probably, with the injuries that he had last year, he probably wants to push on and, play and deliver his best performances that he can. Josh Tetlow in defence as well, another Brit that they have got in. He's tall. He will not try to be pushed around, with his skating ability as well. He's been there a long time, made the trip as well abroad, and now he's back. You got to look at these players that have been brought back in. They have Nottingham experience. They know, they have that idea of what the team wants. They've come back after a season, as a group to come back and play again. Have that ability. And the same, obviously, with Otto is back as well. You've got Logan, who's back as well. Great back-end performance there by Logan Nielsen. People want to see him push on and develop and play and be what he was, that little Spider-Man ideal mentality, a bit of fun every time that he scored and went through, buoyed by his appearances for GB before they went to Prague as well. He'll be happy with that. Hugo Waugh is back as well for Nottingham, but look at that, Dick Hembrandt as well, perfect for him. And then they've got new guys. I mean, this is one of the things that elite prospects, going on YouTube and watching videos of fights and, highlights, highlight reel plays and bits and pieces. But, Davis Bunce looks like a really good player. See what he looks like going forward. As a defenseman, to see what he brings to the table. Same with Matt Spencer, Cooper Zach as well. Matafaro coming through as well for the group. They're not that many signings in. There's still plenty of time to go. Is anyone going to say that this team will be in the top four? Will they mount a challenge in the playoffs of the cup? No idea. Sorry, I'm not going to be one of these people give you my top 10 predictions. Maybe most of the time, but Nottingham's recruitment, Danny Stewart, the way his coaching ability knows this league. I mean, that's the thing, is that I've always been an advocate of, yes, it's great getting these new coaches in. We've got to get bits and pieces and get the experience that they've got, but sometimes people don't get the time that they need to get a feel of the league, get the feel of the players, get a feel of the atmosphere and bits and pieces around it. So the fact is they've got somebody in coming from Coventry that has played here, has coached here, and knows obviously what the expectations is in Nottingham. That's going to be an area that, going forward, that he's going to have a little bit of space and a little bit of time for those performances to come in and gel. But, from a recruitment point of view, the faces that they brought in keeps the fans happy because they know who they are, because they are returnees, but also there is that fresh impetus of people being really happy with who they brought in, looking at the stats. And that's the thing, is these stats translate. You think a player's going to be top end, scorer, assist, perfect, he's going to be player of the season. They leave halfway through because they haven't settled or they haven't performed the way they did. And then you get these players that come in, who are you, where you come from and stuff like that. And then they just take this league by storm. So who knows what that's going to look like going forward. But so far, so good for the Panthers. Logo and stuff like that, smoothly for them. Hopefully we can get some netminders in soon to talk about in the next couple of episodes. So we'll keep an eye on that going forward. Now, the next question that we had was, if we could create a franchise, where and what would you call them? I mean, that's the thing, really. I mean, if I had a franchise, it'd be interesting, first and foremost. But, that's the thing. Born and raised in Nottingham, worked in Derby for a good 10 years as well with my work. Franchise in Derby, get a nice rink, call them the Derby Rams quite easily. Nice little relationship, bits and pieces with Nottingham, backwards and forwards, a little bit of banter, a little bit closer to home for a rivalry. But that's the thing, is that we look at the rinks that we've got around the country and the team that we've got, not just in the elite league, but also, in the Planet Ice, North and South, it's like that, and all through down the line of hockey that we've got. And, there's probably so many places that have so much untapped potential, but it's the cost implications. One thing that obviously we've seen last year and then bits and pieces is you've got to look at teams like Solway Sharks, making that jump up and getting, nearly sold out attendances and then a sold out attendances at the end of the season. Edinburgh Capitals, I mean, they're so good I can't even say them. So Edinburgh Capitals and Dundee Rockets coming through as well. So, I mean, Scotland has got the Stars, they've got Five Flyers, they've got Glasgow Clan. But, that's a really big area that Scotland has. Guildford down a little bit low in the south as well. Got Telford, bits and pieces like that. Southampton, Southampton, Portsmouth, get them there. Whitby Vampires, bits and pieces like that. There's so many places around this country. Dublin, a team would be something that'll be really exciting like that. I haven't got the money for a franchise. Don't think there's any plans for us to have a franchise in the next couple of years anyway, but it's a really great question. It'd be really great to have what football has, is have so many different communities that can go and view hockey, because you've got to look at it as well. There's probably people travelling from Leicester, Derby to come to Nottingham, Sheffield as well, like the Rotherham areas and bits and pieces, but then they can go to Leeds, they can go to Hull, they can go to Steel Dogs as well. So there's just so many little areas that people have that opportunity to travel, to go to places to watch hockey, and probably would be really great to have further teams. But where does that cost implication come? Where that talent and that pool of players? It'd be great to say, oh, we've got 92 hockey teams plus now with everything added in, but is that demand of hockey? Where are you going to get those players from? Imports and bits and pieces from UK and from the world as well. We want hockey to be as big as it possibly can be. With a franchise and stuff like that, I've probably gone in a little bit of a tangent. You'll probably find that's going to happen from time to time anyway. But there's probably a lot of places that you'd love to see have a rink or have that opportunity to do things. But is the interest there? Is it a financial viable option to just fling a team in, see if it sticks in that particular area? Would people be happy that there's a rink there? Would people be happy that, that kind of footfall and bits and pieces would come to their town or their city? And would they really want it or know what it is? That's the thing, is that there's so many implications that you would have to try and bring someone to the table to do it. But we've got some great venues. We've got different type of rings, communities and bits and pieces like that. Could we add something more in the next couple of years? Possibly, we could. But, that's a very different question to see with what's going to happen in the next couple of years when they're starting to look at what they need to do or want to make the step up or move, or like they have with Leeds as well in the last couple of weeks, having an extra team, Leeds Knights as well, which is really great for them. They've got another team, another opportunity, two ways as well, with people on the imports or with more experience, that going forward only betters the game, that people get that game time and that experience and challenges the leagues to play in a different way so that not the same teams are winning every single time. So next question was, which hockey moment, many times you watch it, will always give you goosebumps? I mean, there's only one answer really that we can give with relation to giving goosebumps and watching something over and over again. And I think you can guess what it is. And it had to be Ben Davies against France. Still got goosebumps. I mean, with us, it's either that one or it's going to be Jono when he uses colourful language, we might say. And we use that quite a lot. It's actually one of the fan favourites, so let's keep that one. But no, goosebump moment has to be Ben Davies scoring that overtime winner against France. I mean, that clip just embodies, it just epitomizes how good, that GB team is. Moments like that, everyone expects that GB isn't going to make him and us as a country in the hockey world. But that, just Jono, his skill there, Davis, all that pressure in the world to get that winner. And I think, from doing commentary that I've done, is that, Murph's commentary is just, as a snapshot, you can just hear the raw emotion from him. I think the goal does really well to give those goosebumps, but I think, I've listened to the commentary and it doesn't have that same oomph. It doesn't have that same thought that it does when Murph just screams into the microphone and you can hear his voice breaking while he's just trying to explain the situation. And, Paul Lady's there as well, great explanation as well. Don't want to say, obviously, it's just all Murph, but it's just, you can hear the emotion in his voice, the relief, the excitement of that. And, I can watch it, I would love to watch it again. I'm not going to put it on again, but you can rewind it if you want to. It's absolutely fine. Don't mind. But, that moment is, for me, is one of the greatest UK hockey moments. Will we have a moment like that again? I'd love to have something to take its place from that. I mean, from my nerves point of view, I would rather not have that, of that pressure of trying to survive and try and stay in the group and bits and pieces. Got the Olympic qualifiers soon. Maybe a moment comes up like that. We'll have to wait and see. But for me, if you want to talk about that hockey moment that gives me goosebumps, is that one. Moments, obviously, there's bits and pieces here that you can look back and you can reflect on. It gives you a smile or anything like that. But that one just puts you in the zone that you just have to watch the full video. And every time you see it, the reactions of the players, the celebration afterwards, that sign of relief in their faces and bits and pieces, and that euphoria is absolutely brilliant to watch. And it's something that, we love to see. GB doing well, great, getting that way through and winning and getting those points that they needed to get. Absolutely brilliant. And that's why it's that one that I pick for Goosebump mode. So next question is thoughts on if and when the UK hockey gets a TV deal. Obviously with the numbers and bits and pieces, I don't have them to hand. I don't see them. So the thing that I would probably say with relation to this question is we are very lucky. You're watching this because you've got a love of hockey. You eat and breathe it. I'm sure you watch UK, US, Canadian, European hockey, play the game bits and pieces, anything like that. Get any hockey fix that you can. The story that I can obviously give is that I've lived in Nottingham, worked in Nottingham, and I still speak to people that have no idea that Nottingham Panthers exist. Obviously, what happened last year, a lot more people had hockey conversations with me, but it's still a battle that we're trying to have, really, of people knowing that the sport exists in this country. And it's something, I'd love it. I'd love it if they had the same ethos of, football, cricket, rugby, bowls, tennis, whatever the UK, sees as the premier hockey kind of things. And obviously the British Basketball League had a deal in bits and pieces, but that's by the by. But from a financial point of view, is that what we have, which is ideal for teams to budget to, make sure they can get the right players, bring them over, affordability and bits and pieces like that. So having a deal, depending on what's on the table, is something that would be very difficult. Because, if someone says, they would offer you X amounts and something like that, is it viable for all the teams? Is it something that they can do going forward? Looking at the pros and cons and stuff like this, it's very easy to say, if someone offers you 20 million, would you take a TV deal and, big sponsorship from the league to get these players in, afford to be a sustainable league that can have these games on? Terrestrial side of things at 7 o'clock with the way the fixtures are, you've got Strictly Dancing, you've got X Factor, all these TV shows, Love Island, I don't know, I don't watch them. But, bits and pieces like that. You've got these fixtures, you've got 5 games, are you going to put fixtures on at a different time to appease someone? Are you going to play a game at 12 o'clock because there's a slot for a TV deal to play a fixture to appease them for something that you're paying for? Or do you want to have the control of what you guys want to do? Is that, in the nicest way, I know some fans that will buy a stream for a team. If the team isn't playing, they'll watch a stream there. There is that market of people wanting to see games and bits and pieces. One thing that I've always wanted to see is, the games on YouTube. One of the biggest things for me is I had a period where I was out of ice hockey for years. People still tell me, did you see this moment? Did you see this fight, game and stuff like that? And I look at them gone out because there was that period of hockey that I was completely out the loop. So, having a look at, Steelers have classic games and stuff like that, Panthers and on YouTube is, I remember a time when people used to sell DVDs and VHSs that you could catch the previous games. And, is there an opportunity to maybe look at like a Netflix for ice hockey where you could view those games and, there's a package of money pay per month or something like that? Or, I know teams do, let's turn back time and here's a full game on YouTube, to do something like that to appease people's hockey fix, maybe get a retrospect with some of the players that played in that game. But then that comes down to, cost implications, money and bits and pieces. Is, do you want funding of something like that to carry over where you could say, well, we don't need to do it. There's live games on and stuff like that. People will either come to the arena because there's seats available or the stream is available. Of course, they would do that. For me, there's all these opportunities and bits and pieces. I want the sport to be as big as it possibly be, not from, personal stuff like that, but I love this sport. I love going to hockey. I don't like the fact that we're now in July and I'm just looking at the calendar to know the next game that I'm going to be at, to be in with those emotions again, with the feeling of the ice, the smells, being cold, and just being back in around hockey again. I love that feeling. Nothing beats being there live. People want to see games on TV because, work commitments, bits and pieces like that. I get that. We've got the highlight packages. A lot of the teams do that on YouTube anyway. But could we get together a big one-off hour show that people could put online and show all the teams, retrospects, behind the scene footage and stuff like that? People within the hockey community and social media are starting to bring those ideas in. I mean, one thing that I really enjoyed was watching the Stars documentary, and of course Cardiff Devils was probably one that I really enjoyed doing, seeing those backstage interviews, conversations, and seeing bits and pieces like that are really fun to enjoy. We've got those little aspects and lots of talented and creative people within ice hockey that want to grow the sports and bits and pieces. But, from the key thing is what we have on the ice. There is not millions and millions of pounds to throw at a TV deal, putting bits and pieces like that, having free to air games. I mean, we couldn't be in a position where we could say one person, one team, every so often puts a game live on YouTube and do it on a rotated time. So every team throughout the season has the same amount, because in some ways, some games are very high value in relation to stream. And then other ones, they could say, actually, we can take the hit, but then it's just that balance and stuff like that. If they pick a random Tuesday night game, or for example, that you think, oh, that's going to get a lot of footfall on free to view and get people bums on seats free to air, but then it doesn't translate or anything like that. There is no definitive answer that I could give, really, because money-wise, what would you have if someone had a deal and they were lowballed in the offer of taking a TV deal, and the teams were struggling and they couldn't get the right players in, they couldn't afford the wages, and where would that money come from? I mean, a lot of teams would subsidise it. What can they do? Merchandise would go up, season tickets would go up. They would have to find a difference in the cash flow of maybe having something in a couple of years of a TV deal. Is that the be-all and end-all for the sport to go forward? I mean, yes, I would love to have it on TV. I would love for the fact that people could watch it, but people are doing things now to actually make it accessible, is that they have to push the highlight packages. They have to push, the content that's on social media in such a way that we can see a game. We can't see it live in the moment like we used to with that if you're not paying for a stream, but people would be paying for Sky anyway, for example, or anything like that, or Premier Sports or bits and pieces. So you would get the people that watch sport no matter what, but because of the time threshold that they do have, and the biggest times that they have, is that anything is on, Premier League and bits and pieces, T20 cricket and anything like that, is that it would be relegated to a very small channel and everything like that. And then what would people do? Is people going to pick to miss those games to watch hockey if they wouldn't be hockey fans? So people have to take a risk or anything like that. That's what we're asking for those people that work in TV companies and TV deals that could, put it on their 24-hour news channels, for example, and bits and pieces to get people engaged and get people knowing. But one thing that I would always say is that we kind of have the power. I mean, I speak to people all the time and try and convert them to ice hockey. They don't normally talk to me after that at work anyway, after I've tried that, but we're still trying to put ourselves in a position that we want to grow this sport. We want it to be as big as it possibly can be. Unfortunately, at this moment in time, we're in a position where we just have to enjoy the ride that we've got. There is big attendances around the league. The Steelers obviously are selling out bits and pieces around Christmas and stuff like that. The festive, loads of families going to see it in bits and pieces. But these teams now have, Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday, both in Championship. They won't be, obviously, Steelers won't want to play on the day that they're playing or anything like that. We've got Forest and Notts County, bits and pieces like that. Cardiff City as well. And a lot of teams within there have different football fans that will come to the sport as a secondary when they can't get to games or there's an away game. So having that opportunity, same with Panthers, with the cricket, they've obviously going to other sports and stuff like that to get conversations in place and communication, because if you're not looking for hockey, it doesn't stare you right in the face. I mean, another example is that people didn't even know that Motorpoint Arena in Nottingham was an ice hockey rink when I've spoken to them. They just thought it was for gigs. Is you're going through people that do not know and do not understand that as a difficulty. So when they get a TV deal, do they want a TV deal? What financial implications would that have? It's, you know, if tomorrow a TV deal was announced, but they said that we would have to change the way that the hockey's played, the amount of games or the dates they could be played, are we willing to make those necessary changes for the TV deals to be with them on board to get that money there that they would spread over 3-5 years, depending on the deal? Or would they be happy to say, this is the cash flow we're getting from the stream. We know that that's the cash flow that we're coming through. It does go up and down in bits and pieces like that, but we can kind of adjust our budgets to fall in line with what we've got with those TV deals or streams. And if they do that, you know, in the nicest way, why would you make a change? The streams, you know, that is going to give them the financial muscle they can to compete within the league with the budgets that they've got and the salary caps that they do with the signing of players and deals that they can do, is the worst thing for the team to go, oh, we've got this bit of extra money that a TV deal's given us. We've spent it in year 1, year 2 and year 3. We've got no chance. And then the teams are starting to go in financial difficulties and don't know what to do, and then bailouts and bits and pieces. This is all hypothetical. I do not know the numbers or anything like that. There's probably a couple of people within the hockey community that probably could give us those numbers and say, well, you're talking out your ass. This will never happen or anything like that, which is fine. If it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. But what we need to do is we need to come together, whatever it is, you know, if it's a podcast, if it's YouTube, if it's a team, it's a league or anything like that. Let's sell this league as best as we possibly can. Speak to a neighbour, speak to a friend, speak to your dog or your cat, try and get them to come to a game. The more people that come, the more word of mouth that they can go, because we love this sport, we love this game. And we would be more than happy to have as many people that we possibly can. I've been to arenas where they've just been full houses, absolutely great. Drinks queue and food queue has been absolutely atrocious. That's a different problem. But I've been to games where it's just been Wednesday night, no season ticket people have turned up due to work commitments or anything like that, and it's a ghost town. Half the concessions aren't open. The atmosphere is completely flat. It's completely gone out of the building. Not the fault of anyone like that. You can't really get the crowd going or the impetus going with the crowd or anything like that. So we need to grow the sport as best as we possibly can. We're getting there. We're getting better at it. Would a TV deal accompany that? Yes, but there would have to be certain caveats to that, because at the end of the day, if you did do that and you lost players, or you didn't have the opportunity, or you went big and you went hard and you go home and you are in trouble for it, for any of these teams that are developing or any of these teams that are officially there now, I mean, what would you rather have? The fact that you can watch it on TV and you don't have to pay a £15 stream fee, or would you be able to pay a stream fee and get the quality of hockey that we get now? So next question, we go from TV deals to, do we feel the Challenge Cup new format is an improvement? I mean, the thing is that we are now in July. It's been announced the way it's going to be, the new layout and bits and pieces. And, you know, I've been in a group where I would watch Panthers versus Steelers, Panthers versus Steelers, Panthers versus Steelers, Panthers versus Steelers, Panthers versus Storm, Panthers versus Storm, Steelers versus Storm, and so on and so on. You know, at the end of the day, there's an amount of games that when I paid for a season ticket, when I was a season ticket holder at Panthers, I would basically have not paid, because I would have done it as a direct debit, but I would be asked to pay extra on for the Challenge Cup games, where a lot of people looked at it and thought, well, if we're honest, there's a possibility that you're going to get through. It's only going to get a bit tasty in the quarterfinal stages. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't really go to many Challenge Cup games the last couple of years. Did a little bit, because obviously a bit of FOMO at the end with the bits and pieces and stuff like that. But, you've got to look at it this way, is that they're trying to do something different. We had a look at it, back end of the season, everyone's like, what could we do as an alternative? Could you start getting teams like Leeds Knights, MK Lightning, bits and pieces, and make a bigger league? Could you do it like mini league, randomly draw them out apart? Here's a National League team, here's an Elite League team, make sure there's like 2 of each or anything like that, and then we could just do bits and pieces or anything like that. You could, only play a British netminder. You can only pick someone who's left-handed, shoots left-handed. Only can do this. There's so many different questions and bits and pieces of how can you change the Challenge Cup to make it more interesting, more exciting. They've done something. At the end of the day, they did the feedback for improvement back in 2022, and they wanted to address the Challenge Cup format. They're trying to find a solution. Come back to me at Christmas when we do one of the shows and say, well, it's not working. Let's go back again and have a look at what that's going to look like. Will they change it again? Will they revert it back? Who knows? But, at the end of the day, Group 1, you've got Devils, you've got Blaze, you've got Flames, you've got Storm, you've got Panthers, you've got Steelers. Group B, Giants, Stars, Flyers, Clan. Of course, there's an extra team, bits and pieces like that. Everyone's making reference that, the Giants are going to get through that group. But let's not discount the Stars. Stars have recruited really well. Flyers have, they've recruited. We're in July. People were making comments saying to me that, Flyers won't have any signings till a couple of weeks before August. Season starting, bits and pieces like that. When I did the bingo card, they've actually brought some really good players. We'll focus on that in a couple of weeks. Or if you want to ask me a question, how you think about the Flyers recruitment's gone. And if you want me to pronounce any of the players' names, just obviously send that as a question. I'll do that next week. Or I can get Laura from Fife. She would be very kind. We can ask her if she can throw in some commentary insight for us. And I know the Devils guys have a bit of experience with the Kazakhstani players that they signed because they won the Continental Cup. So there's probably a few. We'll have a look at that. But, recruitment-wise, are Giants going to blaze through? Are they going to get through that group? I think they will. But obviously, don't think it's a pushover with those other teams. Because they'll be fighting. They've got Clan, massive Clan with Nielsen Sexy Hockey on the way. Bits and pieces like that. It's going to be an interesting one to see how those groups go. But, Group A is going to be an interesting one more than anything, because looking at that, we're going to see those teams that are going to come through. There's going to be different amounts of games. People aren't going to be rinse and repeat and playing the same teams over again. Great thing, obviously, the other thing is that they're going to go straight to the semis. Everyone loves a semi with relation to that. So no quarterfinal, absolutely brilliant. The winners of Group A and B. And then runners up Group A will go straight through to the semi-finals. Okay, there you go. People know exactly what they need to do. The runners up for Group B go to third place with Group A in a special playing round to decide the final place into the semi-finals. Being a one-off game, it's the home arena of the team with a high pull percentage from the group game. So there's that impetus, really, to get to the semi-final, get home advantage. You've got to be strategic the way you play. Of course, obviously, if they can't get through to that group, there's going to be some names that people are going to look at and think, well, they're going to be the runners-up. They're going to win that group. But, this is where we go again, where I said earlier, predict a league top 10 now. If you're going to say that, obviously, personal preference is going to come with certain members of who's being selected and who's going to be there. So no one's going to know for sure how that's going to look like. There's going to be some people that are going to be quietly confident of getting through to the semi-finals and going through like that. Is it an improvement? Again, we've got to see how it looks. As the season goes on, the amount of games and the way it's played and that different level and that different intensity, it's different. That's probably the thing that I'd probably say right now. They've tried to do something different. This is the thing, is that it's very easy to say, I don't like the way they're doing something. Let's do this, this, and this. but there's so many factors and implications that they need to do going forward to do it. So they've tried something different. They've done something. Let's see what it's like. I don't get to see as many games as I would with the same opposition. I'm happy with that when I'm traveling around and doing bits and pieces. And obviously, we'll see who gets to the final this year. So, final question from Karina Haler is, what do you think of Steelers' recruitment so far? I mean, let's just look at last season. League, Challenge Cup, playoff winners, Grand Slam. And that's the thing, really, so far, recruitment-wise, they brought back everybody that was part of that team that they can. Brett Newman has gone to pastures new. Nick Linen has gone back home. And also, when you look at Tony Maroney, he is not coming back. But, you've got like Colton Sorcerman, Kevin Tansey. I mean, to be fair, on the ice, Kevin Tansey pretty much gave it away that it was coming back. That was one of the ones that they had to release first because it wasn't an open secret. The fact is that obviously he's laughing and joking with Aaron Fox, doing the stitcher and bits and pieces. But, he's a great signing, great bid. And talking about great bids, chasing the puck's bid of the year, Colton Sorcerman comes back. All started by a wedding. He comes back, had a great season, great bid, bits and pieces. I'm going to keep mentioning bids. It's absolutely fine on this one. Don't really care about the recruitment. It's probably more about the bids. But, he comes back. Campini comes back. The group of players that they have brought back, group, core, friends, laughing, joking, bits and pieces. Obviously, one player that came back even before, 2-year deal, Robert Dowd, the golden child, their captain, GB captain. Probably a lot of titles, stalwart of the bingo card as well. He's looking as good as he's ever been. He's coming back. He's got a target where he wants to obviously be the highest scorer in Steelers history. Great person to come back. First season as a leader, everything that he went through in bits and pieces to bring a team together and play as well as they did. I mean, that's the thing is that you look at the recruitment, you've got Aaron Fox, who, for a couple of years didn't have the success. A lot of people were making that decision, should he stay or should he go? And people were very, disappointed with that. And then he comes back and he answers his critics by winning 3 trophies. He has brought a good feeling back to Sheffield that's there now that, they're excited about CHL. They've got the league. They have got players coming back. They've probably got new bodies coming in as well. And teams around them, you've got to look at Belfast. You've got to look at Devils. They're going all in. Steelers have kind of brought out the best of the other teams in their recruitment by going, we won all that. We won it at Cantor. more than anything. You guys had the opportunity to stop us and you couldn't, you weren't good enough. So it's kind of that impetus now has been brought on by those other teams. It's great recruitment. Other teams in the top four, the arena teams and bits and pieces, people who would say are challenging and then not challenge are actually saying, let's trump it up. Let's get some signings and bits and pieces. Of course, one of the signings that obviously Steelers have brought back is Maurice Cormier. Also, his son, Dominic Cormier, is playing for the Steelers. The circumstances that Dominic came in, forgotten, but I would probably say that is probably one of the best players to come in mid-season, to just come in, collecting points, bringing himself into a group and just creating himself opportunity to be in the Steelers lineup. If I'm honest, he's probably one of the players that you look back and you think he just came in without any bones about it and just played like he's been there for years. He knew the group, he knew everyone around it. Of course, obviously best fans in Europe and bits and pieces. He bought in to the Steelers as quickly. Greatly come back. Hopefully Maurice comes in as well. I think that would be a big thing for everyone, is because that tight-knit community that Steelers have at the moment as well, that they've got someone that they can have a laugh and a joke with, rah-rahing fully for Dominic, but also the Steelers organisation. Campini's back. That's great. They've got Usula back. Him coming back, thinking he was being booed by the fans, but he was loved it till someone explained it to him. Is that, stories and bits and pieces like that are just obviously really great to hear. But, they're bringing people back that won 3 trophies. I mean, logic dictates there is going to be a small percentage that can't come back for other reason, family, financial, different opportunities. But it'd be silly not to bring players back. Finley got the opportunity. Mark Simpson got it. Cole Shudra, Steelers laugh and joke about saying bleed orange. The Shudra name bleeds orange. If I'm honest, you've got Tate who's coming in as well. You've got Cole there. You've got Ron, the Rocket Shudra. Knowing these names and bits and pieces and the dynasty that they have within the organisation, they're ready to go. But the thing is that really, they know the expectations of the Steelers fans. They know how Aaron Fox sets himself up with the coaching and stuff like that. People laugh and joke about these returnees. Giants are basically going around asking, have you ever played for Giants and won a trophy, with Conway and bits and pieces of people coming back. But why would you not bring back people that have won trophies, have tasted success? They know that the fans have got them on side. They've got their favourites and bits and pieces. They know the expectations. They know the good and bad of being cheered by the opposition and being the most hated team on the ice, and fans and stuff like that. They're coming back. They settled in the area throughout the year where they lived and bits and pieces like that, know where the good food is and stuff. And, you're coming back riding on a high. People are going to come back. They're going to celebrate in the pre-season games. They're going to straight into the CHL and fixtures when they're announced and stuff like that. People will be snapping up. You're probably going to find that Steelers are probably going to sell out most of the games. And there's probably going to be of people trying to get to away games and stuff like that. Is the Panther-Steelers rivalry going to be? How's that going to look like next season? Giants have got a point to prove against Steelers. Devils the same. And, different entity, the way the Blaze are going to be, the way Storm are going to be, Stars, Flyers, Flames, Clan, all those teams and stuff like that, is that Steelers have a target on their back now. They've got players that are coming back. They've won. They want to win again. And it's going to be tasty. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be really exciting. I know people laugh and joke about neutral fans and stuff like that. But, if someone was going to say to me, what game would you want to pick out? I would say one game I'm really looking forward to going to next year is Steelers versus Flames. Because Challenge Cup, Flames had a chance to stop them. They didn't. The league, Flames could have held it on for a little bit longer. But the Steelers won it on home ice against the Flames. Playoff semi-final, played the Flames. Steelers won. I feel really bad for the Flames because the year that they had, Paul Dixon, great coach, team that they had, really, really great, bits and pieces and stuff like that. Looked like the team, when it was the year before, mind the gap. Now are in a position that, they're recruiting well, bits and pieces and stuff like that. But they were the team that kind of took the brunt of Steelers' performances and cutting that extra edge. I know Giants in the final and stuff like that. Obviously, final. Can't really remember it, if I'm honest, because I was kind of a little bit distracted because Steelers were winning and I made a promise at the end of the season that I had to fulfill. But, you know, Steelers, really great recruitment, stuff like that. It's going to be an exciting team. Will Lightning strike twice with them winning 3 trophies? Will there be a mix of different teams winning trophies because of the differences in recruitment and new coaches and bits and pieces? Again, you don't know, but at this moment in time, Steelers are the team to catch. They've recruited really, really well. They're probably going to announce a couple more players that have for them. Netminders again. But obviously, one other thing that I would really hopefully have to go with the recruitment side of things is the stuff with the Steel Dogs. You know, the 2 ways it gives an opportunity for players. I mean, Morgan Clark-Pizzo, who thought you would see someone with the, Clark, with the history of the Nottingham Panthers go to Steelers, but why would they knock an opportunity if there's a linear point of view where people can go and coach, train, 2-way opportunities, optional skates to play with these guys, to test themselves, use the facilities, use the coaching, the technology that they have to make themselves a better team at Steel Dogs to push themselves up in the league. And then also if they're playing well and, the Olympics, if the GB side of things, you need a Brit, put someone on the ice or training with them or just be within that setup. Perfect opportunity. These youngsters, same with, obviously, we're probably going to cover it as the weeks go on, of these players that, aren't at elite league but are playing there and ripping it up. It's a fantastic opportunity, to go. I mean, I will probably be looking to go to some Steel Dog games next season. Why? Because it's going to be exciting. There's going to be a lot of fixtures there where you're going to be looking at youth or prospects within hockey that you, in a couple of years, that will be stalwarts within teams around this league, which will be a fantastic opportunity to go for them. But also, it's going to be a lot of competitive. It's going to be a lot of goals, a lot of action as well. And Steel Dogs is probably one of the places that it's going to be because they've got the opportunity now of bringing players in that can slot in for Steelers, have trained with Steelers, but obviously have their ethos as well to make sure they're doing the best for Steel Dogs. Steel Dogs didn't have the greatest season last year. They've got a point to prove under the ownership now, bits and pieces, playing in orange, bits and pieces and like that, little subtle changes, everything like that going forward will be ideal. And they'll probably bring in some players as well that have that more experience and, won't go through that different line of levels. They can be with day in, day out on the coach and bits and pieces. But if you're going to have a linear way, I mean, Nottingham had it with the Lions, bring in Lucas Sheldon, bits and pieces like that. But it's a very different level having the Steel Dogs and the Steelers working in unison together to have a bigger picture and a bigger project. Because that's the thing is, a hometown hero, I mean, if you look at Liam Kirk and stuff like that, having someone that is close by, that has made it, has challenged themselves and reached the pinnacle that they can in the sport, is looking at it when it's great. People come from abroad and stuff like that, become a hero, become a legend within the sport. But when it's someone who has gone through the levels and the adversity to get through the UK, to make it to the highest echelons of the sport that they can, make that big move or have those opportunities, it's a feel good inside that it could be you, it could be the next generation, because that's where it's going to come from, is that those people, like a Robert Dowd or anything like that, or a John O, or bits and pieces like an Ollie Bettridge, have been in the sport as Robert Lakovich and everyone, and Ben Bounds. People are going to look at that. They're the next group. Is that the people that watch those type of players are going to be the next group. They're going to be the ones that say, I want to be like, I want my hair like, I want to play like that, I want to shoot like, I want to wear the same gear as, I want the same stick. And it costs a lot. There's a lot of implications of that for families. And, I feel for everyone who has to buy gear and buy kit. But this is the thing. Steelers, what they're doing recruitment-wise, great bringing the players they got. They're going to bring other people in that is probably new to this league, people that were part of that Grand Slam winning team. But they're thinking far ahead in the next couple of years. This is what we want to do. We want the sport to grow. We want an abundance of players. Maybe they don't make it. Maybe they don't make that push up, but they will probably be picked up by teams in and around the elite league, getting lots of minute and ice time, which then in turn, because they're Brits and they're high commodities, will then start getting into the GB team. And then with the players that are the they are, that will probably not make as many appearances, GB make that retirement move, is that we've got people coming in that have got ice time, got experience, and have that cohesion together. Doing that makes it a really exciting time for UK ice hockey. But on a little bit of a tangent there, but that is this week's questions. Just want to say thank you to everyone who contributed and bring questions to us ourselves. We're going to be looking at probably releasing an interview next week. We've got that in and nearly recorded and bits and pieces agreed. So keep an eye on our social media channels for that. And we should be doing a show next week. Let's do next Thursday at 7:00. It's going to be pre-recorded because there's a few gremlins in the system with relation to get the videos, and I can't say capitals apparently. So we need to work on that as the week goes on. But, really good, really great time with you guys. Thank you very much for spending the time watching. All I ask is obviously if you can like and subscribe, retweet, love a quote tweet, give us your thoughts, give us your opinions, be kind. First time I've done this on camera for an hour. You should have seen obviously how fun it was trying to get this recorded and how many times I've had to stop and how many times I've had to redo it. So hopefully you've had fun. Good questions, good answers. Send us your questions. There'll be some posts within the week to say send us your questions. So send them over. That'll be absolutely perfect. Drop us a DM. That's absolutely fine. But thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening, what you got planned to do. And we'll see you guys next week.